So Chandler says, "You're right, Joe. I have no excuses. I was totally over the line." And then Joey responds, "Over the line? You're so far past the line, you can't even see the line. The line is a dot to you."
Wait, what's the context?
Chandler kissed Joey's girlfriend.
No, how does this relate to our episode today?
Oh, we're talking about boundaries.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to the Career Corrective, your career lifeline that gives you laugh lines with Jenny and Allie.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we are continuing our series on habits, talking about how to make a habit out of setting boundaries.
Ooh, yes.
Such an important habit. We have a special taste test today for everyone.
We do.
We're doing coffee creamers,
Yes.
a variety of coffee creamers.
We are. Little shots. We're doing shots, a coffee
Yes.
creamer.
Happy hour with coffee.
Yeah.
I bought this coffee. I'm going to spell it because I don't know. ILLY Classico, Classic Roast.
Yeah.
It comes in a canister, so it looks kind of retro, old school,
Yeah.
but it was really good. Have you ever had it? Doesn't sound like it.
Funny story. Back in the day when I used to work at the restaurant called Ugly Gus's. I know that sounds crazy for a restaurant name.
It
It made sense at the time. That was the brand that we sold.
What do you think?
It was delicious.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. It's been around forever.
It says Classico, so they're not lying.
They're not.
Which one should we try?
Let's try the peppermint mocha. Chobani.
So when you told me that this is the one you wanted us to get to try, or one of the ones, I'd never heard of it. So obviously I know they make Greek yogurt, but
They branched out.
I didn't know they made coffee creamer. So I'm excited.
Their coffee creamer's a tad expensive, but it's worth it because it's all pure ingredients. There's
Okay.
no homogenized oils or any of that.
So that
nonsense.
nice floaty thing at the top.
Right, the
I see that.
oils. There's no oils.
Okay. All right, we're going to give this one a try now, but we won't
Okay.
slurp in your ear.
I'm gonna slurp. Yeah, it's just light. The peppermint is light. The mocha is light. It's not overpowering.
It tastes like somebody made you this coffee drink with
Right.
milk and flavor, not a coffee creamer. This is almost like a barista living with you, the peppermint mocha.
Right. I like it because I feel like the other ones are thicker.
Oh, yeah. Like yogurt water.
Cultured yogurt water, where
That's
it's medium thick.
from a publicity episode with Nick Kroll, the show that Jenny and I are obsessed with on YouTube watching.
I will try to get it in as many times as I can. All the
Well,
lines.
Once you watch it, it's 2-minute snippets on YouTube. You can give it a look for if you want to
I
look.
know. I will watch somebody put together a whole compilation of all the episodes, and I will watch that every
Just
night.
Leave it on in the background. Yeah.
I do. I find funny things. But no, it's nice and light.
Yeah. I like it. I'll be
Me
getting
too.
this again. I'm going to explore other flavors as well.
I already have explored the flavors.
Oh, tell us a little bit more then. please.
Okay. So the hazelnut is delicious. I mean, they're all delicious. The
Okay.
hazelnut, and there's a cinnamon roll one. Yeah.
Cinnamon's my favorite.
Mine too. I love cinnamon in my coffee. They have a sweet cream. Guess what? They even have a pumpkin spice one.
Oh my God. So I buy that one and then I stare at it and say, like,
I get
why
angry.
would I drink this?
Yeah, I get angry. It's still in my fridge.
Pumpkin spice is a trigger for so many people. Next, we have caramel macchiato by Starbucks. I thought we could taste for you all because people a lot of times love their Starbucks, but then some people say, I hate how much money I spend on Starbucks. So I thought, let's taste their at home. Obviously it's
Right.
not going to be prepared fresh with the foamer and the frother and all the craziness, but let's see how it tastes. The caramel flavor is coming through and it tastes like caramel. If you get the International Delight or Coffee Mate, they taste
Yeah.
manufactured kind of flavoring.
Right.
This
And
does
I
not.
do love those. We're not dissing them.
Just differentiating.
Right.
This does not taste like that. It tastes very much like, excuse me, cream and caramel. And I think it's very nice. Does it taste like a caramel macchiato? No.
It does.
No, I didn't mean that. I
Like
mean,
the real deal, you meant.
yes.
Of course not.
It does taste just like the flavoring of a caramel macchiato.
Right.
Yes.
But are you getting swirls of caramel? No.
Right. And does it taste like you went to Starbucks?
No.
Right. But the flavor I think is spot on. That was very funny. And what do you think? Would you get that one again, Jen?
I would. I think it's lovely. Chobani's my favorite. But let us know what you think. Listeners, tell us. Tell us what your favorite brands are and flavors.
Or morning beverages. We're open to whatever
Yes.
you want to share.
I see videos of influencers making their morning drinks, and a lot of them are doing iced.
Yeah,
Have you noticed that?
I have. It's not for me, but I think it's so cool. When I go to Starbucks, I wish I had a drink because when I see people that are all excited about their ice drink and how to put it together, some of them put protein supplement. I love when the influencers do it, and I love when I see people out getting their specific order. If you all have a starter suggestion for a morning drink, we'd love to hear anything you want to share.
Yeah. We write it down for us. Then I'll bring it when I go there and read it.
Bring my scroll order.
Wait, does that say match?
It's our habits series. I think of the habit of setting a boundary as probably the hardest for me, the hardest thing I've seen in coaching others. But I think it's crucial to learn to do, especially for people like us. It's not my nature.
Yeah, I would love to talk about boundaries because I think it's so helpful for our listeners and myself, actually. I always need a little boundary refresh. I think
Same.
some of us feel, especially us anxious achievers, feel like we don't deserve to have boundaries or that they're not needed, but they are. And then they're there to protect you. And it's not this big, terrible thing. I feel like boundaries are like, oh, people make a big deal of like, oh, I'm putting boundaries up. But they're necessary.
What I've seen for myself in helping people with this and working on this myself. Actually, everything I've coached anyone on, the reason that I love coaching others is because it's something that I've worked on myself. So I have empathy times sympathy because this is all stuff that will forever be working on. People who struggle with this is all, of course, from what I've seen and my own experience. People that I've worked with to help with this is that when you have trouble setting boundaries, it's because you're tuned into others. Right. But there's somewhere along that continuum where you're really putting others first, and then you start to feel stressed out and you don't know why, or you don't feel good and you don't know why. And there are repercussions that your body will show. That's why this is a thing to consider in the first place, because who in their right mind would be, you know what? I want to cause chaos and confrontation for myself. No one would choose to do this unless it was something that they realize is getting in their way. lack of boundaries at work is leading to burnout. It reinforces imposter syndrome when you're piling everything on and you're exhausted. And I've been there. I lived years overworking to make sure that I didn't cause any problems, was the best for my boss to look good. I've worked really hard to undo a lot of that and take better care of myself. And that's why we're sitting here today doing this podcast, because I've made boundaries for other things in my life to be able to do what I'm most passionate about, which is right here doing this.
Yes, that was well said.
Listeners, like I said, this is from my experience. We'd love for you to join the conversation. Write to us. Tell us what you think as we talk through this today. Anything you want to add, we want to hear. Any questions you have, you can always hit up Ask Cece at the Career Corrective, but we'll dive into the boundary talk. Let's start with some fundamentals. There's some themes I've noticed in setting a boundary. It always involves clear communication, talking about your needs, your limits, or expectations of what you will or you won't accept or what you're going to participate in. It focuses on clearly communicating your behavior, not about controlling others. A quick example, you have a friend who you really love seeing, but they want you to commit to more than you're able to. Let's say they want a weekly dinner.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the time we spend together. I'm unable to commit to weekly, but I'll let you know when I free up, focusing on
you. Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, is to keep the focus on yourself and communicate it in a way that is kind. I know I tend to struggle with that as well.
If maybe you could give me an example of something that will be challenging so I can better.
That example right there, that has come up for me before. I think they push it a little bit. I've said, hey, I won't be able to make it tonight. I have things I need to get done. Maybe I'll meet up with you later. And it's, oh, well, we'll wait for you. No, you don't need to wait for me. I'll meet up with you. And then it's, no, we'll wait for you. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I need to take care of certain things. And then if I have time, I will be happy to meet up with you wherever you are.
Right. So the other theme, you just teed it up perfectly, is you have to recognize it's never going to be a one-time fix.
Right.
It's got to be an ongoing practice, and that may need reinforcement. So I think you're also bringing up another great point. You want to think of people and situations in your life in different grades. If you said to someone who was in the top tier, they're respectful of me, they're not going to give me a hard time, I set a boundary and it just is respected. So I'm not going to meet up with you. Okay. I'm not going to be able to meet up with you. Maybe I'll meet up with you later. Okay. Hopefully we'll see you later.
Right. Exactly. That's where it should end.
Right.
Should understand that.
In a perfect world.
Exactly.
And then if you have people like you're talking about, maybe the language needs to change. Now you've tried, I'll meet you halfway. That's not working. I know it's very hard for you just to say no.
Yes.
But you could say, I wish I could.
Right.
No explanation of what you're doing. For that second tier, we're going from light pink into the dark pink. Then the red zone is the people who...
Where I just say, fuck off, I'll meet you later. Would that work?
You're bringing up a great example where people would have trouble with this because the recipient can make it difficult for people. Yeah. If you have somebody who can't hear medium, you have to make it a no. Even if you want to meet up with them later, I would think at that point when they ask you, it's just no.
Right.
You don't have that luxury with them.
Yeah. You do have to take it to that extreme.
When that happens.
Yes. You're teaching them with every boundary that you're implementing.
Yes. It's what you will accept what you will join in, what you will tolerate. It's all about you. It's not a one-time fix, it's an ongoing practice.
That is right. Yes, and this is why it's so difficult for some people. I know you're always working on this in your day-to-day, and I know you can help others with it. So can you tell our listeners what you do, what your approach is?
The first thing I always remember is that my intent is positive. It's to stay true to myself. It's not anything bad or negative like you mentioned before. I hang on to that for dear life because that's how hard it is for me to set a boundary. I keep that as my beacon. The second thing I do is prepare for pushback, which is what you were just talking about, and I make a go-to statement for handling that. So in your case, if somebody says, we'll wait for you, I guess the pushback statement would be, I appreciate that, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it at all. And third is I prepare to keep my emotions aside so I can get through the interaction and bring it to a close without it going off the rails.
Can you give us another example?
Yeah, I'll give a work example.
Okay.
Earlier in my career, I've had some wonderful bosses, some doozies, the mix.
Right.
And coworkers encourage me to take on more visible roles. And my passion for helping people was always a focus for me while I grew in my traditional career. And my career in HR did help with me being able to do what we're doing here now. But I never wanted to be the VP or an executive. I worked with executives and I grew in my career, but I've always been carving out time to learn. I was in coaching school at the same time. I was in business classes at the same time, learning all of what's fueled me to be able to do this. If I didn't have my boundaries in my quote unquote career one, I would have just grown because it's a compliment. I was promoted a few times, but this was always taking up a lot of my time and focus. So being in a dreaded performance review, the performance review is going so well. And I'm saying, this is my true career goal. And I did not share that with them, but that's why I purposefully set those boundaries to make sure that I could follow my truth. And this is what that is.
Wow. I can't wait for you to help everyone with this. I think our listeners need it.
I know so many people are hungry for the permission to stay true to themselves. And I don't think there's anything better unless you believe in reincarnation, which hopefully that's in the cards for all of us. But you also may think we get one go round on this spinning planet. So we may as well be ourselves.
That's right.
Let's bring it to the workplace. We're going to talk about boundary statements, but they're not boundary statements. But then we're going to talk about how you turn them into boundary statements.
It's like a little game.
Yes. We love games.
We do.
All right. So if you have somebody rude who interrupts you in meetings, you could go to them and say, what should their name be, Jenny?
Bob,
I really don't like it when you interrupt me during meetings. Why is that not a boundary, Jenny, for 5,000 fake dollars?
Fake dollars. It's not a boundary because it expresses a dislike, but it doesn't clearly communicate the action or the limit.
What's going to happen if he interrupts you? There's no mention of that.
Right. Exactly. You're putting out this statement with like nothing to back it up.
Okay, put your magic wand on it.
Doodaloo, doodaloo, doodaloo. That was my magic wand. It was from Wayne's World. I'm Garth in this situation.
The actual boundary would be,
Hey, Bob, you moron. Stop interrupting me during meetings.
But it's not a boundary because you didn't tell him what was going to happen.
I'm going to knock you out, Bob.
That's actually a boundary. But if you wanted to use it at work and not get fired, here's an idea. Bob, if I'm interrupted during a meeting, I will pause and ask to finish my point before continuing.
Okay.
See, it's not a badass thing. It's not like you're spiking the ball on Bob's head or you're not trying to win or be a jerk yourself. You're just letting them know, I'm not going to make this easy for you anymore. I guess that's,
Yeah, that's it.
That's a good thing to, like a light bulb. That's a good way. I mean, I don't know. That's really making me feel like I can sink my teeth into that. I'm not going to make this easy for you to do something that is not good for me.
Right. Or you could go doodaloo, 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 right to Bob's face.
And he'll be like, oh, did you want to invite me to watch Wayne's World? I'm so confused. You need to stop emailing me outside of work hours. Jenny, why is that not a boundary?
This tries to control the other person's behavior instead of focusing on your own response. Could you just not respond to him and
Yes.
respond only during your work hours? Leave it.
Absolutely. The conversation and the boundary with verbalizing it comes if you're asked about it. If he asks you, then you could say, oh, we didn't give them a name. Who's this?
Oh, this is Peter. Doodaloo, doodaloo, doodaloo.
Yes, Peter. You'll see responses from me during work hours. I don't check emails after hours.
Okay. I like that.
It's really frustrating when you take credit for my ideas. Why is that not a boundary, Jenny?
Because it expresses frustration and it doesn't define the action needed to address the situation. Doodaloo, doodaloo, doodaloo.
I notice that my contributions are not being acknowledged in the update meetings. I'd like to be included. If not, I'll put a meeting on our calendar so we can make sure we're aligned to ensure that the updates are accurate.
Ooh, I love that one.
And then you would continue the boundary from there. Some of these can't be a one and done. Can't show
Right.
up as a Western movie. Let's do this. Let's duke it out.
Very, very helpful examples.
There's a couple that I was thinking we could talk about really for people who struggle with people pleasing, avoiding confrontation, feel like I'm being aggressive and confrontational if I set a boundary. So I thought we could do a couple for that as well.
All right.
So if you say, let me know if you need anything else and I'll try to make it happen, why would that not be a boundary?
It leaves the door wide open to overextend yourself without setting a clear limit. Doodaloo, doodaloo, doodaloo.
I can help with what you requested until the end of the day. If you need more, I'll let you know what's possible once I review my other priorities.
Yes.
Sure, I can help with that. No problem, even when you're overwhelmed. Why is that not a boundary?
Because it disregards your capacity to you assume the responsibility without limits.
An actual boundary would be, I'd love to help, but I'm at capacity today. I can assist tomorrow. Or you might check with someone else for immediate support.
Yes.
I'd like to also clarify there, even though you're not telling them what to do, throwing out their alternate options for the solution is not a bad idea because you're reminding them, I don't need to be your go-to for
Right.
everything.
Yes. There's other people.
Yes, it's not on you to solve their problem or make a solution or anything like that, but it is your right to, that can be part of teaching them how to treat you.
Right.
Let's do one more.
All righty.
I'll take care of it for you since it's easier that way. Why is that not a boundary?
Oh, yeah. This avoids delegating or asserting your limits. It puts more pressure on yourself.
Yeah. The actual boundary would be, I can get started on this, but I'll need your input or assistance for A, B, and C to complete it. You're letting them know how they'll be needed or it's not getting done. Again, you're not telling them they have to do it. You're just saying, I'm not doing that thing. So if you're the one who wants it done, this is what I can offer.
Right. Okay.
And why these work is because it focuses on you. Again, you can also let them know other pieces, like you'll need to help if you want it done, or there's other people. That's okay to create and remind them of the big picture. You just have to remember you can't make that mandatory for them. You can only control what your part will or will not be, and you don't want to get involved in the rest. These are clear. They focus on you. They create a natural consequence to it. You're limiting your time, your energy, your availability, and then they can figure it out or not from there.
I did some research and pulled some ideas that I thought could be a great way to send our listeners off on how they can set boundaries at work and in their personal life.
Well, that sounds great.
Start small. Begin by saying no to minor requests or favors that you genuinely do not want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Practice in low-stakes situations to build your confidence.
This is a magical idea. Perfect. It's really to do with proactively approaching things too. If you're thinking about what you're wanting from your life and you're planning, you're going to have boundaries. So it's great to start small and start thinking that way. It tells you, I have the right to do what I want to do and make happen for myself what I want to happen. And a lot of times this is crucial with habits altogether. And we're talking about making a habit of setting boundaries today, because to me, it's really the underpinning of making you capable to achieve all of what you want to achieve in staying true to yourself. If you think about how many weeks you get to the end of the work week and thought, there's this graveyard of good ideas that you never got to. If you don't proactively set out to stay on course and say no to things, you're never going to get aligned with what you really want to make happen in your life. So starting with something that you don't care about, just to build that muscle to say no for yours. If you say no to them, you're saying yes to you. That's my cheesy way.
Yes.
You actually like that?
I do love that.
Okay, put that in the merch. Saying no to them, you're saying yes to you. And it really is true. I just think it sounds kind of platitudey, but that's it. Saying no to things that have low stakes and low consequences. Yes, start practicing on those things. It's a wonderful idea. And I think it could be hilarious. You could just promise yourself you're going to say no to things, and people are like, okay, I brought you coffee. And now,
no. Did you? Is that International Delights creamer? No.
It's not even Chobani.
No. Send it back.
Great.
I do too. Identify core values. Reflect on your priorities and values. Use them as a guide to decide where you should set your boundary.
Yes. Core values always throws me for a loop. I think it sounds so sterile. It's used a lot.
Right.
And I think, I don't even know what you're talking about. So what I talked about before with my career, there was a lot of criticism that I faced from people who are much more traditional than me. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
There was a long period of time where I didn't travel to a lot of the meetings that I thought were a waste of time.
Right. I remember this.
I really was doing that because I gave 120, well, I probably gave 220% to my work. I was really so committed to my day job. And I was always carving out time, like I said, to work on all of this stuff. And there were people who would gossip about me for not traveling. And my boss, I had one boss who was toxic.
Yeah.
I had more than one, but this one in particular, she tried to use it as a way to guilt me into traveling. So picture yourself, I'm in
Oh
my
my gosh.
20s in my career doing really well, but I set boundaries for myself. And kind of it was weird because, I didn't have any practical reason to say no. It was something that I thought, I don't need to go to this. She came to me and said, so-and-so and so think it's weird that you don't come to company meetings. And my response was, okay. And I see now that's because those were my core values. I am not concerned with what so-and-so and so-and-so or anyone thinks, because go back to the steps I talked about before.
Yeah.
My intentions are positive. I am so committed to this job. And I did participate in some things, but some things I didn't. And I'm completely comfortable with that. There's no policy that says you must attend. So if you make a policy, then I have a different decision to make. But those were my core values. I will work so hard and I will be your number one in delivering great work and being congenial and professional. I have amazing relationships that I built from that time in my career that I continue to this day, but I'm not going to these types of things. And the conversation was over. She had nowhere to go with it. But think about that manipulation tactic.
Oh my gosh. She was trying to make you feel bad by using the other people instead of just directly addressing it with you.
I would say you've brought here an amazing example then, Jenny, because whatever you want to call it, your core values, what makes you stay true to you, the other half of that equation is you cannot be wrapped up in external validation and stay true to yourself, because boundaries and staying true to what's right for you, it's not going to feel good to everyone else. You can't have both.
Right. You kind of have to be okay with feeling a little uncomfortable.
Oh, very uncomfortable.
That's why I think it's so hard for people pleasers.
Yes.
To enforce their boundaries, because it's very uncomfortable.
Yes, it's very uncomfortable. Unless you can kind of encourage yourself by flipping it around. Look at people who who enforce their boundaries, whether they're nice or not, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And then look at people who don't. Look at the results that those people get. When you set your boundaries, where does your life end up? And what do you get out of your life? Do you want everybody thinks I'm the nicest, everybody thinks I'm the greatest, or do you want to feel like you're in your flow? That's really the choice, because when you say yes to them and no to you, your stomach starts to hurt. You clench up, you hunch over, you go small.
Yeah.
And you're the most popular person in somebody else's story
than your own. Pause before answering. So when someone asks you for help, take a moment to think before responding. Practice phrases like, "Let me get back to you."
This is awesome. The key here, I think, too, is what is the premise you've set in the first place? Because if we think about it in layers, there may be some groundwork you need to do before this is easy. If you've taught the people at work, your boss, your coworkers, that you're the go-to person for everything, or like Jenny mentioned before, people in your personal life, if you've taught them that you're the go-to person, you have more work to do than a simple pause and let me get back to you. Because what they're going to hear is, oh, they'll do whatever I want anyway. They're not even listening to what you're saying.
Right. They're just assuming.